So I want to make sure that everyone understands this. Some of you, the answers to these questions are very obvious, but you have to understand that this is for the purpose of making it clear to the opposition view, to the police watching this, and everyone else. This is one person who I believe that they got to later. She's been acting strange, and a lot of perps were on her Facebook page. But nevertheless, I'm going to play this interview, which even if she changes her mind about later or comes up with some cockamamie story about why she said it, saying that, I paid her or she just tell me what I want to hear, whatever. I'm sure we all know, by the way she answers, the way the interview goes down, that she was telling what she really meant at this point. Watch. I have 4 questions for you real fast. How long have you known me, would you say?
14 years.
All right. Do you think that I need psychiatric medication or psychiatric help?
No. You've been just 14 years. You're one of my own friends.
All right. Do you think a police officer who comes onto a scene of a domestic dispute is qualified to know if somebody needs psychiatric help and, within a couple minutes of talking to them, especially if that person is being calm when they talk to them?
Within a couple of minutes? No, because I don't think anybody is qualified.
All right, one last question. Do you think people are sexually abused in the psych ward, and if a political dissident or somebody who's speaking against the government is sexually abused in the psych ward, do you think that makes him less of a man?
No. The coward who's sexually abused is less than a man. Less than a human being. I already call them human.
So do you think it happens a lot in the psych ward?
Of course, I'm sure they want themselves there where they have drugs and people over people.
All right. All right, I gotta make this video short, so I'm gonna end the questions right there. Thanks. All right, so I don't know whether you can hear that or not. She basically said that she's known me 14 years. I don't need psychiatric help. People who sexually abuse men who are drugged up are less of a man, not the victim. And that sexual predators plant themselves to the psych ward because, the victims are obviously less than credible. And this is part of why they want you to turn to the psych ward. If you're a political dissident, they want to make money off you, they want to drug you, they want to torture you, they want to abuse you. And so they want you in the psych ward. And, she says she's known me 14 years and I'm the most normal friend she knows. Remember, psychiatric illness is based on what is socially normative. So the irony of them going after the top martial artist, a software engineer, the most normal person, that someone who knows me pretty much the best. Honestly, in the last 14 years, she has talked to me more than any member of my family. That's why I suspect, and not only that, and the perpetrators, there's many perpetrators on her page. She's recently linked up with my older brother and started acting different, She has a lot of people, a lot of friends on her page. Her friends are invisible. Some people said it like that. She said it like that, which makes me more suspicious about her. One of her friends I saw on Tinder, and that one Hispanic girl that set me up with the challenger for the martial art contest, who turned out to be a Jew, and she said he was her cousin. One of her friends was on Tinder as well. So there's a lot of reason that she's a perp and she's sold out. Recently, she's taken pictures of brand new bicycles for her kids and certain things. So, there's a potential that she's sold out. I don't know. Also, there's a perp named Toy Toy who came out and said that if a man was sexually abused, in his where, he would know, just like a woman would know. I disagree. It depends on the length and the amount of abuse. If you just do a little something, you won't know. If somebody fucking treats you like a prisoner, in Pelican Bay or something, then you probably will know, you probably will hurt. I hate to disgust people with all this, but I had to address it because there's perps, and she looks like a straight drug addict. She actually recommends that if people hear voices, that they go to the psych ward. Even though she knows that they're being targeted, she knows enough to bring up gaslighting. I've talked about gaslighting many, many times. I never use that term because most of you don't know what it is. I try to avoid these terms, even though they're psychology terms. They sound conspiratorial. Look up on gaslighting on Psychology Today. There's an article about it. It talks about how people twist events and try to make things seem like your faults when they're really the perpetrator's fault. And there's a whole explanation for it. There's certain stages that they broke it into. The disbelief, etc., etc. It's basically what I'm talking about with they're trying to set up the situation where you feel like you're crazy. Remember, all these psychological ideas, reverse psychology, gaslighting, double bind theory, on and on, is some things that they're quite familiar. This is mental health. They're familiar with all these concepts. They had to write papers and shit about all these things, in school. So how the fuck could they not know them? For them to play stupid, like, oh, this kind of stuff doesn't happen to you, when it is the curriculum of every major college in America to teach them, to teach their students these things, the psych majors these things. It's very pathetically ridiculous, The fact that they play stupid gives away their guilt more than anything. Okay? Pretty much one of the first things that I when I was young, the first thing I noticed at reform school and and talking to the doctors, the first thing I noticed that gave away that something was wrong was them playing stupid. It's like, why are you playing? It begs the question, why play stupid? And the first thing you think of, well, there's money. And then you think of, well, how do they justify, playing stupid playing with people's lives to get money? And then you go down the rabbit hole, pretty much, once you get to that point. That's the natural progression of where these logical questions will take you, if you follow them up with due diligence and research. So as a consequence of their stupidity and their lack of understanding human nature and their lack of moral integrity, it became quite apparent, painfully obvious, that they don't know what's going on with people. You have on record, let me just end this video by saying this, on record, the person who knows me best in the last 14 years, okay, saying that there's nothing wrong with me.
How long have you known me, would you say?
14 years.
All right, do you think that I need psychiatric medication or psychiatric help?
No. You just 14 years. You're one of my own friends.
Or do you think a police officer who comes onto a scene of a domestic dispute is qualified to know?
Anyway, you also got to realize that she's someone who lived in low-income housing a lot of her life, and so there are gang members, thugs, drug addicts, people with issues, this kind of issue, that kind of issue. None of these people were in the psych ward. All of her other friends, none of them in the psych ward, okay? Because they didn't have rich parents, they didn't have insurance, all these things, okay? Just like a homeless bum you see on the street talking to himself. None of or sitting on the sidewalk somewhere, acting crazy. None of these people in the psych ward. Political dissidents such as myself is. Complete double standard, complete hypocrisy, complete stupidity. And then they say, oh, if you're angry about it, then you need more medication. Okay? That is their answer. That is the society you live in. The only answer to these people's hypocrisy, these people's suppression, repression, and oppression is Islam. Jihad. Now, those of you who understand jihad knows that jihad occurs when there is oppression, when there is too much oppression, where you cannot ignore it anymore. What do you call psychiatry if not too much oppression where you cannot ignore it anymore? These prescription pills and the opioid painkillers, which are sometimes still to this day being used for psychiatric reasons, even though they're addictive, even though they help contribute to the number one cause of death, which is prescription pills. These are the killers. These are the oppressors. These are the people who are the main people doing gang stalking, the main people who profit. Thank you. Most of the game.